thank you everyone for joining. This is another webinar in the series from SCORE Working Group 168. We're coordinating the development of gridded four-dimensional data products from biogeochemical Argo observations. We call ourselves 4D-BGC. So this group, our mission is to facilitate discussion and coordination among different scientific communities who are developing, validating, and distributing 4D-BGC products from observational data sets with a focus on the biogeochemical Argo array, with the goal of enhancing access and utility of BGC Argo observations through the production and distribution of these products. Just a few updates from the group and some announcements of work that we've done and products that we have available. We have coordinated the development and maintenance of an online repository of biogeochemical data products on the BGC Argo website. So these are some examples here from that repository. We have a number of different products. You can filter by coverage, by parameter, and find lots of information about each product, as well as links to the product itself and related publications. So we're excited about how this can be used as a resource for folks using 4D-BGC data products. And so I encourage you to check that out. I think the URL is somewhere on here, but you can find it on the BGC Argo website or just by Googling 4D-BGC products. Our group also has its own website. I encourage you to check that out as well at 4dbgc.github.io. We post things there like the webinar schedule for webinars like this one, as well as other resources and updates on group activities. You can also join our mailing list from that website. Links to this Google form on the left, where you can sign up to receive announcements and updates for, again, things like the webinar today. And we also record all of our webinars, which are available on YouTube here. youtube.com/4dbgc. So if you miss one that you're looking forward to seeing, you will find it there within a few days of the date. All right, we are very excited about our speaker today, and I think everyone else is as well. We have about double the attendance, if not more, than most of our webinars. And that's because this is a very important presentation from our own co-chair of the group, Raphael Salzed, on what's changing in the BGC Argo chlorophyll data set, how it works and why it matters. So people are still coming in. I will keep admitting them as I see them, Raphael. But otherwise, I will turn it over to you for the presentation.
Thank you, John.
And I will try to stop. Okay, stop share.
Yeah. So, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So thank you for being connected today, and I will talk you today about the next coming reprocessing of the chlorophyll A concentration in the Argo data stream. And I will try to show you what will change in June 2026 and why it's important for the end users. So first, I would like to do a brief introduction of the Argo data stream. So here you have a schematic of this Argo data stream. So as you know, Argo is an international program that uses a global array of profiling floats to collect the data in the ocean. And all these floats send their data within 12 hours to different regional data assembly centers that we call DACs. And we have two global data assembly centers, two GDACs, that are in charge to collect the data from the different DACs and to provide the access to the data to the users, to scientific users and operational centers. The two GDACs synchronize their database every day. And then you can have some delayed mode done by PIs and regional data experts that are then sent again to the DAX and then that can go up to the GDAX. So the complexity of Argo lies in the need of all the DAX to coordinate their reprocessing efforts simultaneously and homogeneously. So this sets Argo apart from other reprocessing systems, such as for ocean color data, for example, where you can reprocess all the data at once. So you have here two levels of qualification, the real-time, as I said, and the delayed mode. For the real-time QC procedure, it has to be simple, robust, and automatic for quick distribution to users, as it has to be done in the 12 hours. And for the delayed mode QC procedure, it involves expert review and the use of reference data, for example. So as I said, the QC and the adjustments are performed by the DAX. Okay, so then I wanted to do a summary of the data mode that you can find in the Argo data. You have the real-time data. So in R mode, the adjusted in real time, so the A mode, and the delayed mode, D mode. So for the real-time and real-time adjusted, the data has been decoded and converted to meaningful values. You have some real-time quality control tests that have been applied. The data is received at the GDAX within 12 hours of float surfacing, and the data is assumed acceptable for operational use. The processing is automatic and does not require human intervention. The difference between the real-time and the adjusted in real-time is that for real-time, the data is not acceptable for direct usage in scientific applications. And for the adjusted in real-time, there are some adjustments done to the data in real-time that make the data more trustable. For the delayed mode, the data has been visually inspected by the delayed mode operator. It has been compared against reference data sets, and the QC, have been checked. So these data are suitable for direct usage in scientific applications. So for the real time, it's filled in the param, in the netCDF. So for example, for chlorophyll A concentration, it will be in the CHLA parameter in the netCDF. And for the adjusted in real time A mode and delayed mode D mode, it will be filled in the param underscore adjusted. So CHLA underscore adjusted for chlorophyll A concentration. One thing to know is that if you have a delayed mode done in a parameter, it will overwrite the adjusted in real time, so the A mode in the param adjusted variable. So you will have the best quality in this variable. So what is really important is that the users should only use the param adjusted data, so in A and or D mode, with the best one available, with only good QC flags. So use only the flag at 1 that are for good data, at 2 for probably good data, 5 for value changed, or 8 for estimated value. So now we will talk more about fluorescence and chlorophyll A concentration. So the context is that BGC Argo floats measures the fluorescence of chlorophyll A, and the Argo objective is to deliver accurate chlorophyll A concentration. So you have here the equation of the relationship between fluorescence and chlorophyll A concentration. And you can see that it depends on the excitation irradiance that is assumed to be constant, and on A star, the chlorophyll A specific absorption coefficient, and the fluorescence yield. These both parameters vary in space and time as phytoplankton community composition and physiological status respond to environmental conditions. So the fluorescence over chlorophyll concentration the fluorescence over chlorophyll concentration ratio that we will call after the physiological ratio is a function of physiological constraints and community composition. So it's very complex to handle and finally varies with space and time. So in Argo, we have 3 steps for adjusting the fluorescence into chlorophyll concentration. So here, let's say that it's the fluorescence signal. We will first apply the dark correction. So it's a sensor-specific adjustment. For correcting of the dark, we use the median of the minima from the 5 first profiles, and then we use this offset for all the lifetime of the float. So the offset represents the instrumental dark signal. So finally, it should be 0 if the fluorometer was perfectly calibrated by the manufacturer. And this offset is subtracted to the fluorescence, as you can see on the schematic. The second step of correction that we have is the non-photochemical quenching correction, the NPQ correction. So this is a physiological adjustment to account for light-induced quenching effects that appears next to the surface. At midday, the NPQ can depress the fluorescent signal by up to 90%. So it can be a really high difference between fluorescence and chlorophyll concentration. And other drivers of NPQ has been suggested, such as the nutrient status and the species composition. So here you have some example of profiles from the study of Xing et al. 2012. You have some day profiles as circle and some night profiles with the crosses, with the MLD. You have the lines here that corresponds to the MLD. And what you see is that you have this decreasing of fluorescence due to the NPQ. And if you take the maximum of the fluorescence into...
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, I think I was just saying that in Argo, we use the maximum of the fluorescence in the mixed layer depth, in 90% of the mixed layer depth, and we set the chlorophyll concentration to this value. So then the third step that we have in Argo is the correction of the physiological ratio that addresses both variations in phytoplankton physiology and community composition. So from the study of Rossler et al. In 2017, you can see here, for example, the fluorescence against the chlorophyll concentration from HPLC, which are known to be the reference data for chlorophyll concentration. And you can see that there are some regional biases, and you can see some ratio of fluorescence over chlorophyll concentration up to a factor of 6 here in the Southern Ocean. So we have really a large regional variability. And in their study, they also have derived the chlorophyll concentration from a biooptical relationship on different floats. And you can see here for different areas, sorry. And you can see that the global mean fluorescence on chlorophyll concentration ratio is about 2. And so this is what has been used up to now in the Argo data stream. So it means that the chlorophyll concentration has been set to 0.5 the fluorescence. But you can see that there are still some regional biases. Here, it's the fluorescence compared to the chlorophyll concentration from satellite. So it's based on climatology, on matched up data of BGC Argo float fluorescence, and satellite chlorophyll concentration. And you can see this large regional variability with a really high ratio here in the Southern Ocean. Also here, for example, in equatorial Pacific waters, and lower values, for example, in the subtropical gyres. However, satellites have their own biases and limitations, so we cannot really use it for a reference for adjustment. And we know that, for example, using ocean color-based chlorophyll concentration as a reference here in the Southern Ocean tends to amplify the variability in the physiological ratio because of error in the satellite algorithms in this specific region. So now I will present you the new real-time QC correction that we have developed. So the background of this is that a physiological ratio can be computed using radiometric determinations of chlorophyll concentration, similarly to what has been done in the studies of Xing et al. In 2011 and Rössler et al. In 2017. So this adjustment involves using the diffuse attenuation coefficient, the KD490, that is derived from irradiance at 490 nanometers, so the ED490, to estimate the chlorophyll concentration from the relationship that was developed by Morel et al. In 2007. Then the physiological ratio can be computed from the fluorescence over this theoretical chlorophyll concentration and can be then applied to adjust fluorescence into chlorophyll concentration. To do this, we tried to use the SOCA methodology to create multi-year climatologies of fluorescence and light, so ED490, that would be representative of BGC Argo measurements. So for the ones that are not familiar with this SOCA method, the SOCA method is a machine learning-based method and more especially a neural network. And we use three principal components inputs for this multi-layer perceptron. The first one is satellite-derived inputs, so basically ocean color, the reflectances and the photosynthetically available radiation, and altimetric data. Then we have Argo depth resolved inputs, so it's PCAs applied to temperature and salinity profiles and the mixed layer depth. And we have also a geolocation input. And then as output, we retrieve the vertical distribution of different variables measured from BGC Argo floats. And we have the BBP, the particulate backscattering coefficient, the chlorophyll concentration, and the light. Yeah, that's it. So yes, this multi-layer perceptron is trained from the BGC Argo dataset matched up with the satellite data. So using this SOCA method, we created climatologies of fluorescence that have been dark and NPQ corrected, and for light, so here ED490, that are representative of our BGC Argo measurements. So using this climatology, for each grid cell, we are able to have a fluorescence profiles with ED490 profiles that we can from which we can derive the KD490. Then, using the relationship from Morel et al. In 2007, we are able to have this theoretical chlorophyll concentration. And then we compute for every 5 meters a physiological ratio of the fluorescence over the theoretical chlorophyll concentration. And we use the median of this ratio over the depth for each grid cell. And we are now able to have this map of physiological ratio. So all the gaps that you can see are the gaps coming from the SOCA product, so where we have not ocean color data, or when we are too much close to the coast because we have applied a bathymetric mask of 1,000 meter depth. So you can see some results very coherent with what I have shown you just before from Rosler et al. Study. And so from this map, then we have filled the gaps. So basically, for example, for the Black Sea, where we did not have any data, we used the ratio of 0.72 that was computed from the methodology that I presented using the floats. And for the Baltic Sea, where we don't have any data to have a ratio, we used the ratio that was applied before, so the ratio of 2. And we removed also the very high latitude values because we did not have a lot of data to compute it. Then we also filled the gaps near to the coast using the closest point. And we are able to have now this map of the physiological ratios without gaps near to the coast. And this physiological ratio seems really consistent with the regional variability that we have seen in previous studies. So this data has been published in SINUE. So you have this data in a NetCDF file available. And this is this physiological ratio that will be implemented in the Argo data stream in June 2026. So this lookup table, as we called it, has a resolution of 1 degree per 1 degree. You can find the NetCDF file in the SINUE repository. The ratio will be applied on a profile by profile basis along the float time series, and the closest ratio will be applied to each profile after the dark and NPQ will be corrected. So for the technical details, the ratio will be filled in the scientific calibre coefficient, and the reference to this lookup table will be filled in the scientific calibre comment. So you will be able to track the data that will be reprocessed. And for the missing position, we will reuse the value from the last profile with a valid position on the same float. And if we have no previous position, we will put the default value to 2. And we will adjust the QC flag accordingly with QC2. So you have here the map of the new real-time chlorophyll concentration over the current chlorophyll concentration. So you can see that the differences can be very high with differences up to 4, for example. So in the Southern Ocean, in the Pacific equatorial waters, but also you will have a difference in the overweight of the ratios, for example, in the Atlantic Ocean or in the North Pacific Ocean. So for the implementation window, all the DACs have agreed to reprocess their chlorophyll concentration datasets from the monthly DOI snapshot of June 8. So this will be the date from which the chlorophyll concentration will be reprocessed in the Argo data stream. So here is the timeline. So we have started to initiate the communication between the DACs in last December. We had our internal organization in March, and we started to communicate externally, I would say, in May. So we have sent a lot of emails. I think that you have received some. And we have this webinar for all the details of the implementation. And we have set up a web page in the BGC Argo website to put some updates concerning this reprocessing, and we will deploy some banners in the website where you can download the Argo data. And then in June, so the reprocessing will start. We will try to monitor the DAX implementation progress, and we will do some regular updates via the new consolidated mailing list and also the BGC Argo dedicated webpage. So during the transition phase, what is really important is to be cautious because so here you have again this map of the new real-time chlorophyll A concentration over the current chlorophyll A concentration. And so you can see, for example, in the Southern Ocean, which is an area really sensitive because you have a huge difference of factor more than 4. We have data that comes from 6 different DACs. So, for example, if one DAC reprocess their data and the other one is not ready, I would say, you can have 2 floats nearby with data with difference of 4 in their chlorophyll A data. So you really have to be cautious during this phase that we hope will be the shorter as possible. Okay. So now I would like to show you how we evaluated the chlorophyll A concentration accuracy. So to do this, we developed a workflow based on the SOCA method that I presented you before to evaluate the accuracy. So we use the SOCA methodology to train different models that are based on different BGC Argo datasets. So the idea is that we use SOCA as an emulator of BGC Argo-like measurements that we can then compare to reference in situ HPLC data, and that allow us to compare different corrections at global scale. So if you use all this model trained on different data sets, and then you have some statistics comparing this data to the HPLC reference measurements, the best statistics will give you the best correction for the BGC Argo dataset. So using this workflow, you have here some results. So it's the percentage difference of the chlorophyll A concentration like in BGC Argo compared to HPLC reference measurements. So you have the results for the global ocean, here for all the water column, here for only the surface data, so less than 20 meter depth, and here for depth data, so over 50 meter depth. And in orange, you have the new real-time chlorophyll A concentration, and in blue, the current real-time chlorophyll A concentration. So you can see that using this new adjustment, we remove the bias that we had in the BGC Argo chlorophyll A dataset. But you see that we will here a little bit underestimate the chlorophyll A concentration near to the surface and overestimate it at depth. So this is the issue of the NPQ correction that we cannot change in real time. So it means that our new correction tends to do the best for all the water columns. So that's why here we have no bias, but a little bias at the surface and a little bias more at depth. So this was for the global ocean. And here it's only for the data for the Southern Ocean, so more than 45 degrees south. So you can see here the huge bias that we have now in the current real-time chlorophyll A concentration in the BGC Argo dataset that we correct here using this new adjustment. And you can see also that we have also less variable data using this new adjustment. So here it's more direct, I would say, validation against HPLC. So for the float deployment, so you have here the in gray the raw chlorophyll A concentration from the first profile of the float. In orange first the current real-time chlorophyll A concentration, and in blue the new real-time chlorophyll A concentration compared to the HPLC chlorophyll A concentration in red. So you can see that for the high latitudes, for example, here in the North Atlantic and here in the Southern Ocean, we have really better results using the new real-time chlorophyll A concentration compared to the current one. For example, here in the Mediterranean Sea, you can see this the thing that I just said before, that we are better at the surface, but at depth, it's the problem of the NPQ correction. So we cannot be good at the surface and at depth. So one way to be better will be to do the DMQC for this data. And so doing the DMQC, we will improve the BGC Argo chlorophyll A dataset, especially for NPQ issue. So here it's the comparison against satellite. So you have the chlorophyll A from BGC Argo compared to the chlorophyll A from satellite. So here it's data from the GlobeColor merged product that is available from the Copernicus Marine Service. You have here the matchup for the current real-time chlorophyll A concentration, and here the new real-time chlorophyll A concentration. And so what we can see is that all the statistics here are better for the new real-time chlorophyll A concentration. We have a slope that is closer to 1, the MAPD decrease, the RMSE decrease also. And you can see here this data that corresponds to the Southern Ocean that are here more aligned on the 1-1 line. So here it's another representation. You can see the difference of the chlorophyll A concentration from satellite and the chlorophyll A concentration from BGC Argo. In blue, the current real-time chlorophyll A, and in orange, the new real-time. You can see for the global ocean that we decrease the variability in the error, in the data. And here for the Southern Ocean, you can see that we correct the bias that we had here with the current real-time chlorophyll A, and we have really less variability. So finally, we can see that the BGC Argo chlorophyll A concentration dataset will be much more aligned with satellite ocean color measurements. And even if these measurements are not perfect, it's very important for data assimilation purposes, for example. So I wanted to finish here to say that please stay updated about this new reprocessing. We have now this dedicated webpage on the BGC Argo website where you can find the updates, and we will put some updates about the status of the reprocessing, so showing how much of the data has been reprocessed per DAC, and with the map of the profiles that has been reprocessed, so from early June. And if you have not done yet, please register to the Argo mailing list to have the Argo-related news and, for example, about the high-impact data reprocessing. So here it's for the chlorophyll A concentration, but maybe we will have other important things to say in the future for other variables. So thank you for your attention, and I will be happy to answer to your questions if you have any.
All right. Thanks so much, Raphael. Lots of applause emojis in the chat. Yeah, that was a great overview. And we have time for questions. We have gotten a few during the presentation. I think the NPQ issue was mostly resolved, but if anyone else wants to ask about that, also feel free to raise your hand if you have additional questions. But I'll go on from the NPQ. Um, Let me just call out this first question in the chat before I get to Eric, who has his hand raised. And Colette asked about the justification for using the closest ratio instead of interpolating ratios, I think when you were filling gaps in the map.
So the question is about using the. Is this the question of Eric or not?
And Colette can clarify, but I think it's, when you were just filling in some gaps, you did some nearest neighbor, maybe interpolation instead of any sort of, linear interpolation.
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay.
So the question is why I took the nearest neighbor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I did not have the data to interpolate. So if you are near to the coast, actually, I just feel like taking the closest to go to next to the coast. So actually, why I filled the gaps was because it's better for the DAX to have something without gaps to really be operational in the implementation. I'm not sure if I have answered the question. If you can maybe say it again.
Yeah, no, I think that answers it.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to Eric before we return to the chat.
Hi, this is Eric Ream from Seabird Scientific. Thank you. This is really a great evolution of something we've known about for a long time. And I can't tell you how many times I forwarded the Colin Ressler's paper from 2017 from the famous physiological adjustment factor of 2 to people. And so it's nice to see this evolve. So thank you so much for your work. I had one question about multiple vendor chlorophyll sensors. There seems to be a dependency that if I take a new chlorophyll sensor and I profile that with an old chlorophyll sensor in the same, and do this across a number of different physiological conditions, just from the point of view of what those raw chlorophyll from fluorescence profiles look like, they should be identical, which means there is an interoperability. I'm not sure if the word is adjustment, but reckoning that multiple vendor chlorophyll sensors need to have. And this dates back to the original, scale factor, meaning the calibration constant that was derived from a single, as we all know, a single monoculture of Thalassia or Eisflogii. So could you comment on that? Thank you.
So I will try. So here it's representative of the fluorescence that I had for my training. So it means that this ratio is can be applied now. But if we have, for example, another sensor that is biased against the sensor that I have here, we have first to characterize the bias and then use it here. Additionally, I would say, not sure that it's a good word, to then be interoperable. I don't know if I'm clear.
Okay, I think we're in agreement, but thank you.
All right, let's return to the chat here because I think Matthew and Adam had similar questions, both referring to, I think, the physiological ratio calculated from depth resolve profiles of F and KD, but then one median physiological ratio is used to correct the entire profile. So what's the reason for that as opposed to applying a depth dependent or depth resolved physiological ratio?
So the reason is to be the most simple as we can to start. But yeah, we think that by using this ratio, we will really improve the chlorophyll concentration. It's not perfect because we know also that it's varying with time, so with depth, as I have shown. But if we have this physiological ratio changing over all these dimensions, now it will be too complicated to implement it now in the Argo data stream. So, for example, in delayed mode, we hope to be able to go further and to improve, for example, the physiological ratio with time. So that's the kind of things that we can do, but in delayed mode.
Got it. And again, feel free, anyone who has additional questions, to raise your hand. But next in the chat is, what will be the role now of the delayed mode operator? What will they be checking?
So in delayed mode, there are some different procedures. So for example, even for the dark correction, you can do better compared to what is done in the real-time adjusted mode. For the NPQ, for example, you can use the light to be better in the NPQ correction. So for data more near to the surface. And for the physiological ratio, as I said, we can also do better, for example, by taking into account the seasonal variation and also to have a better physiological ratio computed directly from the light measurements from the floats. So actually, we can do a lot in the delayed mode. Yeah.
Okay, sticking with delayed mode, I put a question here. Should the delayed mode and PQ correction be applied to profiles in which both day and night profiles follow each other, but are not constant in the MLD?
Not sure to have well understood, but if you have a night profile, actually you are not correcting the NPQ because in theory you don't have any NPQ issue. But still, if you have your day profile just after a night profile, you have to correct it using the procedures that we have now.
Okay, let's go to Matthew, who has his hand raised.
Oh, hi. Thank you. Thank you, Raphael. This is great. I have a question about that map that you're showing right now. Does it come also with an uncertainty on the variability of that ratio given the spread? I'm just wondering what the vertical spread in values was when you took the median, and it will be helpful to propagate uncertainty on chlorophyll eventually.
Okay, so actually I did not put any uncertainties corresponding to depth data, but it's a good, yeah, it would be a good way to go. But I added to the netcdf file the standard deviation, the temporal standard deviation, because when I have this climatology, I have it monthly, and so I compute the global physiological ratio, but I have also the standard deviation with this monthly data, and I added it to the netcdf file. But actually, I did not do this work for the depth.
Right. You also mentioned that it's changing with time, not just vertically. So that's also
Yeah.
something to consider.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I had another question but it escapes me. I can't remember what it was, so maybe I'll come back.
Yeah, raise your hand if you recall. And it sounds like that answers Lionel's question about uncertainties provided within the NetCDF files, that there are those standard deviations provided, but maybe not fully baked uncertainties.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Oh, another question about the large bias in the Southern Ocean. So maybe just speak on what causes the large discrepancy in the ratio in the Southern Ocean, or what might be causing it.
So as we said, the physiological ratio is a function of the community composition and the physiological constraints also. I would say that this is both driving the physiological ratio here, but when yeah, and I have Julia Witt in my so yeah, in the Southern Ocean, you have the stress with iron that is driving a lot this physiological ratio in the area.
Oh, Matthew remembered.
Very good. Thank you, John. Sorry about that. I was wondering if, so for the example that you showed in the Mediterranean, whether even the new ratio is not necessarily the most appropriate value. I assume the recommendation from the Argo DMQC procedure is still the delayed mode operator has the last word, as in if they find a ratio that applies better with a reference data set of their own that supersedes the product. And if so or not, is there any change? And I think that question was asked at AST. I'm sorry if I'm asking it again, but does that change any recommendations from the Argo program in collecting reference data when you're deploying a BGC flow as well?
No, I missed the beginning of your question, but no, it's not changing the fact that we need
Okay.
the reference data, but it's not just actually the reference HPLC chlorophyll data has never been used to adjust fluorescence data into chlorophyll concentration, but it's more used to validate um, the data after adjustment. And so how, as I have shown also using the SOCA workflow, then the more we have HPLC chlorophyll data, and the more we are able to have the to say if we are accurate or not, and to have the uncertainties associated to the correction that we apply.
I see, I see. So the HPLC data is never used by a DM operator to adjust chlorophyll
Not
in the
from my
label.
knowledge.
Okay.
Actually, the procedure that are how to say proposed are to use the Xing et al. 2011 method to compute the physiological ratio, either using the light from the float or using the SOCA light method if you don't have any radiometer on your float.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, it looks like questions in the chat are slowing down. So I will give folks another moment to either raise your hand or add an additional question if you have one. All right. Okay. I think then we will probably wrap up. Let's thank Raphael again for a great presentation, a very important presentation.
Thank you.
And I would encourage everyone to check out the 4D-BGC website and join our mailing list for upcoming announcements about future webinars. And this one, as all of them, will be recorded and posted online soon. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming.